If you study old houses closely enough, especially those built before the age of central heating, you begin to notice something modern homes quietly forgot. These homes weren't sealed tight. They breathed. That wasn't an accident, and it wasn't ignorance. It was a rule passed down through practice, not textbooks. Winter air must move, slowly and deliberately, or sickness and rot will follow. This single principle kept families warm enough, dry enough, and remarkably free of winter coughs long before antibiotics, air purifiers, or humidifiers ever existed. Grandparents did not try to trap every bit of heat. They understood that stagnant air was dangerous. Homes were kept warm where people lived, not everywhere at once, and airflow was allowed to continue even in deep winter. Chimneys were rarely closed completely. Small vents near ceilings or floors stayed open. Windows were cracked for short periods each day, even when snow was on the ground. This controlled loss of heat prevented moisture buildup, which was the real enemy. Damp air fed mold, irritated lungs, and turned minor colds into long-lasting chest illnesses. You can apply this today by resisting the urge to hermetically seal your home in winter. Instead of running heat nonstop and sealing every gap, allow brief, controlled air exchanges. Open 2 windows on opposite sides of the house for 5 minutes once or twice a day. The temperature drops briefly, but moisture and stale air leave quickly. Heat recovers faster than mold does. Contrary to modern belief, older winter homes were not humid. They were dry but not stagnant. The dryness reduced bacterial survival, while airflow prevented throat irritation. People coughed less because the air did not sit heavy with smoke, breath vapor, and dust. Fireplaces, wood stoves, and coal burners naturally pulled air upward and out, drawing in fresh air through small leaks in doors and walls. In a modern setting, you can replicate this by ensuring vertical airflow. Run bathroom or kitchen exhaust fans briefly, even when you're not cooking or bathing. If you use a wood stove, keep the damper adjusted to maintain a steady draw rather than a smoldering burn. The goal here is not just heat alone, but air exchange without drafts. Older generations, treated sleeping air differently from living air. Bedrooms were cooler, often unheated or just lightly heated, but always ventilated. Heavy blankets did the warming. Cool, dry, fresh air reduced nighttime coughing and congestion. That's why so many older accounts describe frost on window panes but sound sleep and clear lungs. To apply this now, just lower bedroom heat at night and crack a window slightly if weather allows. If outdoor air is too polluted or cold, make sure indoor air is circulating by keeping doors open and fans on low. The principle, really, is constant renewal, not warmth at all costs. Water vapor from cooking, washing, and breathing was constantly managed. Pots were covered, to keep that steam in check. Laundry was dried near heat sources with airflow, not sealed rooms, which really made a difference. Snow-covered boots were left near doors, not carried into living spaces. This kept indoor humidity low enough to prevent mold spores from activating. Modern homes can adopt this by using lids when cooking, venting bathrooms immediately after use, and avoiding indoor drying without airflow. If you use a humidifier, keep levels modest and seasonal, never constant. The old rule was simple. If windows sweat, the house is too wet. A working fireplace was a lung for the house. Even when not actively burning, a slightly open flue allowed warm, moist air to escape upward. Closing a chimney completely was rare and considered unhealthy. This prevented smoke residue, soot, and respiratory irritation from lingering indoors. If you don't have a fireplace, you can mimic this effect with vertical vents or by, occasionally opening upper-story windows briefly. Warm air rises, and when it's allowed to escape, it pulls fresh air behind it. Rather than overheating rooms, folks used to layer clothing indoors. Wool, cotton, and linen, those materials let moisture escape from the body, which kept skin dry and lungs comfortable. Overheated modern homes, well, They dry out nasal passages while trapping irritants. Older homes avoided this by staying cooler and drier overall. You can practice this by setting thermostats lower and dressing accordingly. The reduction in respiratory irritation is noticeable within just a few days, especially during winter cold season. Now, this air rule didn't just protect folks' lungs, it actually preserved homes too. Mold-free beams, dry walls, and rot-resistant floors were a direct result of that constant airflow. You know, a lot of historic homes survived for centuries simply because they were never sealed up too tight. And honestly, the same principle still applies today. A house that breathes just lasts longer and, well, costs less to repair. For preppers and survivalists, this really matters, y'all. A shelter that stays dry without relying on powered systems is way more resilient. Passive airflow is something you can count on when electricity fails and fuel gets scarce. During power outages or fuel shortages, sealed homes can get damp and unhealthy real quick. So practicing controlled airflow now actually gets you ready for those kinds of situations. Learn which windows create cross breezes, identify vertical airflow paths, keep those vents working, and hey, stock up on blankets instead of just relying on heat alone. This knowledge becomes critical in long winters without modern comforts. It's not about comfort, it's about endurance. Modern construction prioritized energy efficiency over air quality, assuming machines would manage what design once handled naturally. That assumption fails during outages, economic strain, or aging infrastructure. The old rule offers a low-tech solution that works regardless of circumstance. Relearning it reconnects us to practical wisdom earned through long winters and hard living. It's not nostalgia, it's function. This forgotten air rule kept generations breathing easier through winters far harsher than most experience today. It protected lungs, preserved homes, and required nothing but awareness and discipline. If this kind of hard-earned historical knowledge matters to you, subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles, share this guide with others who value real-world preparedness, and keep these lessons alive while they still matter.